Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 1. The Manus, Administrators of the Universe. Text 1. Sri Rajovacha Swayambhu Vasyeha Guru Vamsoyam Visarachchutaha Yatra Vishva Srijam Sargo Manun Anyan Vadasvanaha Swayambhu Vasyeha Guru Vamsoyam Vistarachchutaha Yatra Vishva Sridam Sargo Manun Anyan Vadasvanaha Swayambhu Vasyeha Guru Vamsoyam Vistarachchutaha Yatra Vishva Sridam Sargo Manun Anyan Vadasvanaha One more Vaishnavi. Sri Raja Uvacha. The king, Maharaja Parikshit, said, Swayambhu Vasya, of the great personality, Swayambhuva Manu. In this connection, Guru, O my spiritual master, Vamsya, dynasty, Ayam, this, Vistarat, extensively, Sruta, I have heard from you, Yatra, wherein, Vishvasrijam, of the great personalities, known as the Prajapatis, such as Marichi, Sarga, creation, involving the birth of many sons and grandsons from the daughters of Manu. Manun, Manus, Anyan, other, Vadaswa, kindly describe, na, to us. Translation. King Parikshit said, O my Lord, my spiritual master, now I have fully heard from your grace about the dynasty of Swayambhuva Manu. But there are also other Manus, and I want to hear about their dynasties. Kindly describe them to me. Text 2. O learned Brahmana, Shukadeva Goswami, the great learned persons who are completely intelligent, describe the activities and appearances of the Supreme Personality of Godhead during the various manvantaras. We are very eager to hear about these narrations. Kindly describe them. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has different varieties of incarnations, including the Guna avatars, Manvantara avatars, Leela avatars, and Yuga avatars, all of which are described in the Shastras. Without reference to the Shastras, there can be no question of accepting anyone as an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, as especially mentioned here, Grinanti Kavaya, the descriptions of various incarnations are accepted by great learned scholars with perfect intelligence. At the present time, especially in India, so many rascals are claiming to be incarnations, and people are being misled. Therefore, the identity of an incarnation should be confirmed by the descriptions of the Shastras and by wonderful activities. As described in this verse by the word Mahiyasa, the activities of an incarnation are not extraordinary magic or jugglery, but are wonderful activities. Thus, any incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead must be supported by the statements of the Shastra and must actually perform wonderful activities. Parikshit Maharaj was eager to hear about the Manus of different ages. There are 14 Manus during a day of Brahma, and the age of each Manu lasts for 71 yugas. Thus, there are thousands of Manus during the life of Brahma. Translations again. King Parikshit said, no, you don't have to repeat. O my Lord, my spiritual master, now I have fully heard from your grace about the dynasty of Swayambhuva Manu. But there are also other Manus, and I want to hear about their dynasties. Kindly describe them to us. O learned Brahmana, Shukadeva Goswami, the great learned persons who are completely intelligent, describe the activities and appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead during the various manvantaras. We are very eager to hear about these narrations. Kindly describe them. Om Agana Chimadandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasudhi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Maharaja Parikshit here is begging for the mercy. What is that mercy he's begging for? He wants to hear. We can't overemphasize the importance of hearing in bhakti. But bhakti hearing doesn't mean hear from anyone. It means hearing from authorized sources. So King Parikshit knows that he is face to face with an authorized source, and therefore he is eager to hear. And that eagerness to hear is so important in our spiritual life. If you want to gauge your spiritual temperature, try to analyze, do self-introspection, self-analysis, how eager you are to hear the glories of Krishna and his devotees. As your spiritual advancement increases, your eagerness to hear increases. Hearing the Hare Krishna mantra, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, your life becomes more and more dependent on hearing about Krishna and his glories, more and more dependent for your inner satisfaction and even your inner stability. And the perfectional stage is when you cannot live for a moment without hearing the glories of Krishna. So this is what's going on in Srimad Bhagavatam. Eagerness on the part of Maharaja Parikshit and Shukadeva Goswami reciprocating with that eagerness. And you note how Parikshit Maharaja says, kindly describe, kindly relay these messages, this information. I want to understand. And I know I'm talking to an authorized source. O learned Brahmana, those who are completely intelligent, they describe the activities and appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by two reference points, as you heard in the purport. First, Shastra, and second, there must be wonderful activities displayed by these avatars, not just some little magic trick. Today, people are so fascinated if some psychic with his mind can bend a spoon. People are very impressed. But that's not a wonderful activity that is memorable for countless manvantaras, cycles of the manus. And those cycles of the manus humble us. This information given by Maharaj Parikshit shows you the vast expanse of time that we're lost in. He says, you've already explained about the dynasty of Swayambhuva Manu. Swayambhuva Manu is the first Manu. And Maharaj Parikshit will be concerned with those first 6 Manus, including Swayambhuva Manu. But we are in the 7th period of Manu. Vaivasvata Manu, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Imam vivasvate yogam proktavan aham avyayam. So Vaivasvata Manu, the present Manu, is number 7. And Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says, I spoke to Vaivasvata Manu's father, Vivaswan, the Devata in charge of the sun. I spoke Bhagavad Gita to Vivaswan, and Vivaswan related to his son, Vaivasvata, the present Manu. And Vaivasvata presented the message of Bhagavad Gita to his son, Ikshvaku. So this message of Bhagavad Gita is not meant for theoretical speculation. You may have heard during my university years, when I wanted to study Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavad Gita that was issued to me by a famous scholar had the verses in the front and the commentary in the back. So I just flipped to the back of the book to look at the commentary. I was just an innocent 20-year-old. And the commentary said, Krishna is a conception meant to satisfy both the intellectuals and the sentimentalists. So how is that attempt at a Bhagavad Gita going to benefit anyone? Krishna's a concept. Krishna himself says, I spoke this, Emam Rajasya Vidu. I spoke this especially for those administrating the whole universe. So as Prabhupada instructs us, when you turn Bhagavad Gita into just a treatise of religious platitudes, religious ideas, theological concepts, and metaphysical speculations, when you turn Bhagavad Gita into that, you've missed the point completely. Bhagavad Gita is meant for the Manus who administrate the universe. So you know that during the day of Brahma, there are 14 Manus. And each Manu has a reign of 71 Divya or Chatur Yugas. You can't imagine that expanse of time. Can you think of Lord Brahma's lifetime, which is over 311 trillion years? Who can think in terms of that expanse of time? And Krishna, in Bhagavad Gita, announces not that Krishna is restricted to a particular schedule, but he gives you advance notice. Every day of Brahma, I come. So Krishna comes in the Dwapara Yuga, at the end of the Dwapara Yuga of the 28th, 28th Divya Yuga of Vaivasvata Manu's existence. And then in the following Kali Yuga comes Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So somehow or other, amidst this impossible to understand expanse of time, we have appeared in this body, in this human form of life. Just 4,000, 5,000 years or so of Kali Yuga have passed, but 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, Krishna was manifest to everyone. And only a little more than 500 years ago, Krishna as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was manifest. So what kind of special responsibility do we have? Krishna came not simply to annihilate the miscreants and establish Dharma. The Yuga avatars can do that. Pritranaya Saudinam Vanashaya Chajuskritam. They can take care of all that. But Krishna, when he appeared approximately 5,000 years ago, he had a special mission, as revealed in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. What was that special mission? To display Braj Leela, to attract everyone. Why would Krishna want to do that? Because all the relationships in the material world are based on the rasas, the relationships in the spiritual world. Think about it. Your life is full of relationships based on neutrality, servitorship, friendship, parental love, and conjugal love. That's life. But that life that we call ordinary in this material existence is a perversion of those rasas in the spiritual world. So Krishna wants to show you the real thing. Otherwise, how will we ever give up our attachment for the taste of mundane rasa? So Krishna decides, once every day of Brahma, I'm going to come and display my pastimes, my Braj pastimes, so that you can see that you can love me in so many different ways. So as you know, of the 5 rasas, Shanta rasa is often not counted by the Vaishnavacharyas as a rasa because it's just about appreciation of the greatness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's no active exchange of service. There's no reciprocation. So Shantaras is just a tiny step into the spiritual reality. But in the limited knowledge of attempts at spiritual wisdom, you see so much Shantaras attempt. How great is God? God is great. But you don't get any information of that greatness. Just like Brahman. Brahman means the greatest. But if you want to call Krishna Brahman, then you must say, how is Krishna great? So Krishna wants to show you he's great by staging his prakat lila, his manifest pastimes of loving exchanges. Look at this and see. That is Krishna's real purpose in becoming visible to ordinary vision once every day of Brahma. So he came at the end of Dwapara Yuga, in the 28th Yuga cycle of Vaivasvata Manu. He came and he staged his Vrindavan pastimes, incomparable. But then, as Kaviraj Goswami reveals, Krishna's thinking, and this is what is so extraordinary about Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. You see the pondering, the thoughts of Krishna and how he wants to benefit all of his parts and parcels. Krishna's thinking to himself, for such a long time, I have not distributed Braja Prem. And only I can do that. The plenary expansions, plenary incarnations, they can't do this. I have to personally come and distribute Braja Prem. I've shown everyone as Krishna in my manifest Leela, I've shown you all what the Braja Leela is, but I haven't given the taste. I haven't distributed the taste. And only I can do that. So let me come as my own devotee and show, by example, by my own example, how to be a devotee absorbed in Braja Prem. And I'll distribute that taste everywhere. So Lord Chaitanya, first of all, gives knowledge of the relationships with Krishna, and he demonstrates by example that knowledge. So just see how concerned Krishna is with all of us. He gives the knowledge of rasa, and then he demonstrates love in separation. He does it as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So when you understand why Parikshit Maharaj wants to hear from Shukadeva Goswami about the Manus, you can start to understand the purpose of the universe. The purpose of the universe is to provide a development training ground for you so that you can advance in spiritual life to the point where you can start thinking about loving Krishna. As Krishna says in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, without the distribution of Braja Prem, the universe has no value. These are Krishna's confidential thoughts. Simply creation, maintenance, and annihilation. This is external. Krishna doesn't do that directly. But the distribution of Braja Prem, Krishna says, without that, the universe is universe. The universe is useless. Therefore, he comes to perfect the purpose of the universe. And he does that by coming as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Before there is love, there has to be respect. I was explaining this to a group hearing Ishopanishad classes. I was explaining last night that the purpose of the Sri Ishopanishad, how many of you have read or studied Sri Ishopanishad? Raise your hands. What is its purpose? To bring you nearer. It's an Upanishad. So the purpose of An Upanishad is to bring you closer to the Supreme Absolute Truth. First of all, by refuting that the Supreme Absolute Truth is simply material. So in order to accomplish that purpose, the Upanishads describe how the Supreme Absolute Truth has no material form, no material qualities. And as you know, people mistake that. They don't go further. They think, oh, that's it. No form, no qualities, no activities. Apanipado javano grihita, the Upanishads say. They don't go to the rest of the verse. Purusham mahantam. But he's the greatest person. They just read the first half of the verse. No hands, no legs. Oh, okay, that's it. Case closed. But Purusham mahantam, he's the greatest person. So that's the purpose of Sri Ishopanishad, to clear out your material conceptions so that it can be respect. So I was explaining to those gathered last night, how can there ever be love without respect? And then respect leads to gratitude. And then you can talk about love. So Ishopanishad, I don't think you ever thought of this, but Sri Ishopanishad is the preliminary text for love of Krishna. It's making you respect that the Supreme Absolute Truth has energies. Those energies are everywhere, and you need to take into account the wishes, the desires of the proprietor of all those energies. So in that way, Sri Ishopanishad is teaching you respect. Everywhere, everything is Krishna's energy. Respect that. Take permission. Take your quota that you need for leading a spiritual life, for maintaining yourself, but nothing more. That's respect. What if someone burst into your home? Some stranger off the street burst into your home, whether a flat or a house, and just acted like there's no proprietor, there's no occupant of the house, and he or she just opens your refrigerator, takes food out without offering, sprawls out on your couch, as if there's no proprietor. How would you feel? You would think, well, either this person's a criminal, home invader, or else this person is mentally deranged. But here we are in this universe acting like there's no proprietor. Everything is up to me, and the world is here for my utilization. The world owes me so much, but there's no recognition of the Supreme Proprietor. So how can there be any thought of love of God unless there's the basic respect given to the Supreme Proprietor? So Sri Ishopanishad, the preliminary text for love of Krishna, I know you never thought about it in that way, is teaching you respect. And then when there's respect for the Supreme Proprietor, there can be gratitude. Thank you for providing all these energies. Thank you for providing this human form of life. Thank you for maintaining all living entities. But without respect, there's no gratitude. And then when there's gratitude, you can start thinking about love. So even in terms of your own family life at home, even in terms of your relations with other devotees, we talk about love and trust. Prabhus, we all have to love and trust. What does that mean? You're not going to go up to every Prabhu and Mataji and give a big hug. Love and trust. You're not going to do that. So what does it mean that we have to have relations of love and trust? First of all, respect. Respect that devotees, even in your own family, in family life, you know, there's a tendency to take the other person for granted. I see you every day. The romance faded long ago, if there ever was. Respect that you are a devotee and you have talents and skills and you're playing such an important role in the family, that's respect. And from respect, as we spoke last time we were here, there can be gratitude. Thank you. Appreciation for the service contribution of others. So that is the foundation of love and trust. Respect and then gratitude. If we just start doing those two things, you see such a big shift in your dealings with others. Just note, make a study of your dealings with your own family, or your dealings in the ashram, or your dealings with anyone. How there first must be respect, and then gratitude. And then the feelings of loving reciprocation can start to flow. So Ishopanishad is the science of the Supreme Proprietor, meaning first recognize that the energies belong to someone and you need to take permission. You're dealing with someone else's property. So that is the first blessing of Sri Ishopanishad as you make progress toward love of Krishna. Of course, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is the pinnacle of a love shastra. It's showing Krishna wants so much that his parts and parcels return to him, that he is going to come as his own devotee and distribute Braja Prem. First, as Krishna, he demonstrates the Braja Prem and then says, it's not enough, it's not enough. They still don't get it. They don't understand. So what to do next? I'll come as my own devotee and freely distribute Braja Prem. So here you see what to do with your human form of life and what to do with the universe. Otherwise, people today don't have a clue what to do with themselves or the world. This existential crisis. Why are we existing? Why is there existence in the first place? What's the point? What's the universe for? Does the universe have any meaning? No. Make your own meaning. So you want to make your own meaning? You want to think the universe has no purpose? Now you're reading chapter 1 of 8th canto, the Manus, administrators of the universe. They're letting you know there is a purpose. And Bhagavad Gita is letting you know Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita with a purpose for the executive chiefs of society. And what is the first duty of the executive chiefs of society? To protect the people from lust. And what do the people of Kali Yuga today say? I don't need protection from lust. I need access to more lust. That's the purpose of the government. To reduce all barriers to lust. Even in psychology, there's a fancy term which doesn't mean what you think it means. Self-determination. That label, that concept is applied to when you let yourself do whatever you want. Whatever urges come to you, you act on them. That's called self-determination. Whereas we know that such a lifestyle is slavery, slavery to the mind and senses. And you don't know what your real self is when you act in that way. So how can there be self-determination? It's just illusion determination. But this is what an unregulated life offers. Everything the opposite of what the Manus are teaching. That just do whatever you like, make your own meaning. You are authentic when you act according to your own concepts and no one else's. So this is what's affecting your teenagers, in case you're wondering. Everyone makes up their own meaning. The universe has no overall purpose. Just look around, see what others are doing, then look at yourself. How do you feel? What do you want? This is considered being authentic. So you're wondering, what are our teenagers going through? Why don't they do like their grandparents did? No, they're living in a saturated time a time saturated with self-determination. You make your own meaning. You make your own mistakes, and then you forgive yourself. It's all worked out. So that's what your teenagers are going through. Why teenagers? That's what even some of the adults are going through here. Some of the adults here in this room, they're going through. So hearing about the Manus is very important because they provide purpose to the universe. So you heard about Swayambhuva Manu. Parikshit Maharaj is saying like that. My Lord, my spiritual master, I've fully heard from you, from your grace, about the dynasty of Swayambhuva Manu. He's number one. And then there are 5 more that Parikshit Maharaj will hear about. But we're in the Manvantara number 7, the reign of the 7th Manu, Vaivasvata. And during a day of Brahma, there are 14 Manus. And in each reign of Manu, there are 71 Chaturyugas. Chaturyuga, the 4 yugas, the cycle. And during the reign of Brahma, during his day, just his daytime, what is that, 8,640,000,000 years. During that day of Brahma, how many? 14 Manus. So we're so insignificant, so tiny. From the viewpoint of eternity, which we can't conceptualize, the lifetime of Brahma, 311 and so trillion years, is just like a flash of lightning in the sky. Can you conceive of that? It's like a bubble coming to the top of the ocean and then disappearing. And here we think that we are so significant, we are so important, we're making a lasting contribution, when actually we're here today and gone tomorrow. So Bhagavatam is giving you a vision for the expanse of time. It's humbling us. If even Lord Brahma's lifetime is just like a flash of lightning in the sky, 311 trillion years, you can't even figure out 1 trillion. What to speak of 300 or so trillion years, 311 trillion years. This is very humbling. And this information makes us wonder, what is my purpose? So in a real human civilization, it's responsible to the Manus. But we don't have a real human civilization today. People are taking birth and dying with no understanding of how they fit into the universe, who's in charge of them, where they came from, what is their future destination. No idea. Simply make money and enjoy your senses. That's it. And then you distinguish yourself from others by, oh, they're low-class sense enjoyers. We are very high-class sense enjoyers. They're very crude sense enjoyers. We are very well-mannered sense enjoyers. That's the only difference. This is not human life. Human life means to subject yourself to regulation and rules. Therefore, it's so important to hear about these Manus. And remember, Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita especially for the Manus. Not that Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita for the philosophical speculators who say things like, Krishna's a concept meant to satisfy the sentimentalists and the intellectuals. Bhagavad Gita is not spoken for them. And as we were pointing out, as Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport in Bhagavad Gita, the purpose of the executive class is to protect the people from lust. It sounds so alien, doesn't it, in today's context? Protect the people from lust? Even if you think that's a good idea, you think, well, lust is everyone's personal affair. It doesn't need any government intervention. It doesn't need any rules, or, any laws. But the Manus will tell you differently. Unless the people are protected from the ravages of lust, how can you have a peaceful society? Because lust is never satisfied, and the next thing that comes along is anger. Anger leads to violence. My material desires are not being fulfilled. I'm angry, and in my anger I'm going to cause a commotion, some kind of violence, some kind of upheaval, because I'm not satisfied. And you'll never be satisfied with lust. Therefore, the people need protection from these lower urges. And that is one of the purposes of the Manus, to provide structure in society to protect the people. So just think how the world is so different from when you were a child. I'm speaking to the adults. Your children, just like these children gathered in front of me, what the world they're growing up in is so different from even what their parents grew up in 30, 40 years ago. So different. There is no protection, no structure, no stability in terms of how to live a normal human life. Whatever little was present in the world 40, 50 years ago was gone. It's gone now. So your children are growing up in the wilds. They're growing up in the, it's like in the moral outback. So have some compassion on them. There's no protection given by society. There's no structure to contain them. Just like in a traditional Indian society, in a traditional Indian home, everything is worked out. You become of age, you marry, and then you marry according to the wishes of your parents, and then you have children, job, buy a house, investment properties, everything is all worked out. There's a formula, right? You do this, and then you do that, and then you do that, and then you do that. Why? Because that's the way it is. And what do your children say? That may be the way it was. So you have to understand you have to understand the context that they're growing up in. It's a wild frontier, wild wilderness. Anything goes. Who are you to tell me what to do? Who are you to decide what is right and what is wrong? So my point is that without a structured society, where is the protection against degradation? Individuals are not strong enough to withstand such a degraded atmosphere that surrounds them. They're not strong enough. Unless they take shelter of what? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There is no other shelter. All right, any questions? I know you're ready. Thank you for your very nice question. You don't have one? Okay, what is it?
Prabhu, Maharaj, you mentioned how the Shukana says is the preliminary stage, and then gratitude comes, and then love for Krishna comes.
I was presenting that Sri Upanishad is the preliminary information about love, because there can't be love without respect and gratitude.
Yeah, And we also seen the verse Prabhupada says that by accepting a bona fide spiritual master, that's the way we can come back to Godhead. But Maharaj, we see our grandparents in India, they may be very sincere and they don't have a bona fide guru, and they may be like serving them very sincerely and not knowing that they are rascals, they don't know the true knowledge.
It's a heavy preacher. Scary.
So will they ever get like self-realization?
How will they ever get self-realization? They'll get credit from your devotional service. Just like my mother knows practically nothing about Krishna. But if she assists me, she gets credit for doing devotional service. She doesn't think that, though. She thinks I'm just helping my son. So the more your grandparents help your parents and help you, they think we're just giving material help. We don't accept your Krishna bhakti, but that material help they're offering is service to devotees. So you have to be strategic.
Thank you, Maharaj.
I told you how sometimes, my mother's 95 now, so she's not listening to this. Sometimes she gives me some Lakshmi and says, it's not for Krishna. And I assure her, this is not for Krishna, it's for Govinda. She said, oh, Govinda, whoever, as long as it's not Krishna. So you have to be strategic and also show your grandparents by your example. Let them see what bhakti has done, how it's transformed your life. And after a while, they'll become impressed. But it's not often that you can preach to your seniors, but you can show by example. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Maharaj, you mentioned about the modern times that we live in and the concept of self-determination. So when we are trying to outreach, we meet a lot of people who follow this ideology.
Of course, that's what it's all about in the age of Kali.
And so
Who are you to tell me what to do?
So we are trying to explain to them about Krishna consciousness and trying to change or trying to encourage them to change their lifestyle. There's a lot of pushback. They don't like it, and they like to just do it the way they want it, even in Krishna consciousness.
Yes, in order to do outreach, especially in the Wild West, you have to be very tolerant. It's not that they're running towards you saying, I'm sick, give me medicine. No, they're running towards you thinking, oh, this is something different. Kirtan, we'll try that. But don't tell me what to do. So you have to be flexible in dealing with all kinds of motivations. Some persons are intelligent enough to understand that they're caught in the grips of illusion and they need higher knowledge. But not everyone's like that. Some are just curious, some are just, well, you serve good food at your programs. Or they're nice-looking girls at your programs. So many different kinds of motives. And someone may start out very sincere, and then because they're still caught in the modes of material nature, or whatever little beginning they made in spiritual life, they've stopped, and then, you tried to restrict me. You're the problem. So one has to be very patient and tolerant. That's why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Nachachasma manusheshu kaschin me priyakritama. There's no one more dear, nor will there ever be one more dear. Why? If it was easy to do outreach, Krishna wouldn't say that. But because there's difficulty. You're dealing with people who are completely sick, and they think they're completely healthy. Or maybe a little something wrong, not much. And here you are, restricting my life, telling me to follow the 4 rules, telling me to chant a certain number of rounds every day. I just want to come to your programs and just do whatever I want to do. And who are you to stop me? Who do you think you are? What do you know? So it can be a very difficult task. In the beginning, when you're trying to bring others to bhakti, you may think that they're all going to appreciate so much forever. No. That's why Krishna says, no one is more dear, nor will there ever be one more dear. Look at what Srila Prabhupada went through. Not only in bringing bhakti to the West, but also reviving bhakti in India. Look what he went through. It's not that he suffered in the West and then went back to India and everyone was ki jai. No, it's not like that at all. Now in India, you're seeing the fruits of Srila Prabhupada's efforts. But during Prabhupada's manifest presence, you didn't see that. So we're serving Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and trying to get his mercy. That's what keeps us going. Sometimes there'll be appreciation, sometimes there will not. But we are servants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whose order is, wherever you go, whomever you meet, teach the science of Krishna on my order. That's the same as Krishna saying, surrender to me. Krishna comes as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and says, surrender to me in the way of wherever you go, whomever you meet, teach the science of Krishna. That's surrender to Krishna in this day and age. Yes.
My question is about giving protection to the kids.
Giving what to the kids?
Protection to the kids.
Yes.
As the kids are in a young age, they don't know what is good for them and what is not.
How old is a kid in your, what do you call a kid?
Anyone?
They always confuse me here when they talk about, Maharaj, please help us with our youth preaching. I said, well, how old are the youths? Oh, they're 30. Because in India, youth means, under 30. Whereas in Australia, youth means under 16. So what do you call a kid?
I just talk about my own kid who is in 14. So
14.
he's in teen. So until the chanting is the solution, as you said, is a protection. But the chanting should be a forcible one, or it should be coming from within. They have
No,
to,
if you force, they'll resent. You show by your example. And you can suggest, but no forcing. Okay? Let them see how you are blissfully chanting. Yes.
When we see in both the verses, Krishna Maharaj is very eager to hear from Sukadeva Goswami. So you mentioned about how a person, when they are spiritually advanced, the eagerness comes to hear about Krishna Gatha. But in these two verses, when we are hearing, Parikshit Maharaj is very eager because he's not heard about this pastime before, or Manu's before. He's very eager. So in my situation, quite a lot of time the mind says, oh, I know about this topic. So how do I make myself eager to hear again and again about the same topics, even it is?
Explain to yourself that it's just your mind telling you that I've heard this before. I know it all. Don't let your mind victimize you in that way. As soon as your mind starts to tell you that, you've heard this before, you know this pastime, switch off As soon as your mind tells you that, you rebel. No, I'm not going to go that road. But you have to make a conscious decision not to be victimized by your mind. It's cheating you of the opportunity to hear about Krishna. It's like sometimes, well, not so much now, but I remember when I was a young devotee doing Sankirtan in New York, 1973, 74, before the big wave of Indian migration into the USA started. There were very few persons from India there. So when we would see on Sankirtan, we'd see someone from India, for sure they're going to take Bhagavad Gita. And we would run up to them, and we were naive, we didn't know, and show them Bhagavad Gita as it is. I know everything about Krishna. I know Krishna. So you recognize that as being a very unfortunate attitude. But what about ourselves? I've heard that Leela before. I know it inside and out. I know Bhagavad Gita. Just by reading Bhagavad Gita again and again, you see deeper and deeper insights. Just by hearing about Krishna's pastimes, they become ever fresh to you. But you first have to rebel against that mental impulse. I know about this. It's the same as those people I would meet on the street in New York in 73. We know about Krishna. I have Bhagavad Gita at home on my shelf. Every week I do Akshman and I touch the Bhagavad Gita. Yes, you've met those kind of persons?
Yes, Maharaj.
So don't be like them in a more sophisticated way. Yes, I'm hearing Bhagavatam only when there's something new that I think I've never heard before. Whereas what do the sages at Naimisaranya say? Vayam tuna vrtripyama uttama shloka vikrame yach trinvatam rasagyanam swadu swadu pade pade. We never tire of hearing about Krishna. That's first chapter of first canto. Those who actually understand the science of rasa, they relish hearing about Krishna at every step. Swadu swadu pade pade. We never tire. That's coming from the sages at Naimisaranya. Begging Sutta Goswami, talk, talk, talk. We never tire of hearing this. So you beg for that attitude.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes.
Maharaj, you were talking about how it is humbling to hear that the Manvantaras reign for 71 yuga cycles, one mantra, and we don't even know what is 1 trillion, forget about 311 trillion. And but we still hear about all this and the grandiose of things around us and the universe and other entities who live longer lives than us. But we know the philosophy, but we are still so engrossed in our own little lives and our family, our health, our finances and all that. So it's still, despite knowing the philosophy, it's very difficult to come out of that particular mindset that, oh, it's all about my family. And like even while practicing Krishna consciousness, that's deeply entrenched inside us.
But what should also be deeply entrenched in you is the eagerness to hear about Krishna, and that will put us in our place. That will humble us. But without hearing constantly, daily, we'll get lost in the routine, as you say. Another day, another dollar. This is why the eagerness to hear is so important. And that's what Pritchard Maharaj is emphasizing in these verses. I'm eager. Kindly describe to me. I fully heard something about Swayambhuva Manu. I fully heard that. So he's reassuring Shukadeva Goswami, I've already heard this, and now it's time to hear that. So this eagerness to hear is so important in our life. And don't be fooled by, I've heard this all before. Who's giving class today? Are they going to say anything new? Are there going to be any new insights into Leelas I've never heard before? Or are they just going to say the same old thing over and over again? But it's not the same old thing. It's our mental conception that's thinking it's the same old thing. But actually, the transcendental subject matter is ever fresh. But you need to give yourself that kind of experience. And that takes some effort. Last question over here. Yes.
We talk about chanting, we say, we chant in the mood of prayer like, mother, like a child crying for the mother. And we say, pray to the deities, asking, seeking guidance, help. But we also see, there are, advanced devotees in, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita who say, we don't want to take service from Krishna. But here we are depending, to do anything, we depend on Krishna. So how do we understand the two things?
There are different levels of maturity. You should know what the best thing is, what is pure love, but at the same time, Krishna will not reject you if you say, oh, please help me in this situation. But don't make your appealing to Krishna conditional. All right, I've appealed to you, now help. That's the danger of approaching Krishna for material help. But be aware of the full development of love of Krishna, in which a devotee doesn't call upon Krishna. What about in Braj Leela? Nanda Maharaj, when he was being captured by the servant of Varuna and dragged into the Jamuna River to the kingdom of Varuna. He's calling out for Krishna, Krishna. Is he thinking just to save himself? No, he's thinking, I don't want to be dragged to Varuna's kingdom because I'll be separated from Krishna. He's not trying simply to, calling out to save his own skin, so to speak. Oh, the servant of Varuna has captured me thinking I bathed in the Yamuna at the wrong time, too early in the morning, before daybreak. I'll be separated from Krishna. So he's calling out for Krishna in that way. All right. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.